Best way to get productivity out of your team is to raise the bar, raise the standards and the metrics that people have to hit on a daily basis. That's something that your people should be inspired to do on their own, but people are lacking that motivation and discipline these days. That would be step number one. Step number two is actually make actual training a part of your day.
What it is, Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, as always, I got a real treat for you. Jordan Stupar in the house.
What's up?
Old Jordan Stupar, CEO of Stupar Enterprises. Mainly, your claim to fame is a sales trainer.
Yeah, I would say so.
Sales trainer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
From a small town.
Yeah. There's 600,000 people, to be clear, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but...
Is that where you're from, though?
Yeah. Born and raised. I spent about 10 years away from my home, though. Something I would suggest everybody does, at least once in their life.
Well, sure. How old are you?
36.
36 years old. So you're like the youngster of the group. You got a lot of these old sales trainers that nobody's heard of anymore.
Yeah.
Fading out.
That's right.
And you, as we know, always have to have somebody that kind of rises up and becomes the next.
That's right.
Guru.
It's what we're shooting for.
What makes you the guru of sales?
The fact that I have done a substantial amount of studying and participation in the education of sales. I've got 20 years of experience myself. I've done a lot of door-to-door. I've done over the phones. I've done in person, B2B, B2C. And I just kind of I get it. You know, you're selling to people.
Yeah. And ultimately, what do you find as of late? What's changed over the years? Because there's a lot of sales trainers out there with old shit. Doesn't work.
Tons of old shit. And yeah, I would say that the number one thing about the old shit is that it doesn't address the new shit. And the way that technology has progressed and allowed today's consumer to become more sophisticated, more educated, and just more aware of everything. And then all of a sudden, right now, you got things like inflation, the government, you got the economy, you got concerns. We may be in a recession or not, but people are starting to look at their wallets a little bit more carefully before making investments or, buying stuff. And so you got to take all these things into consideration and know who you're talking to. And you have to be able to provide people with an experience that they can't find anywhere else. That's value. How
do people do it?
Well, the best way of doing that is literally treating human beings like human beings. A lot of the time I spent in sales, I was looking at, a guy like you, oh my God, dude, I don't know if I should call this guy right now. I'm kind of nervous. This is Brad Lee. He's a big deal. He's a CEO. And you start feeling all stuffy and professional, too professional. And you kind of lose the just human to human interaction that you should have with people that allows them to know, like, and trust you. And that's one of those old sales heads, know, like, and trust. I forget who that was exactly, but that's all you're doing in sales. And so if you can create an experience for somebody very similar to, would you rather eat at McDonald's or would you rather go to the nicest steakhouse here in Vegas? Which one would you rather do?
Steakhouse.
Why?
Food.
Just the food?
Well, yeah, mainly.
Well, of course, the food is going to...
I don't eat the garbage.
The food is going to blow the doors off anything that you get at McDonald's, but you get the atmosphere.
Yeah, but a better analogy would be, would you rather go to this steakhouse or that steakhouse because they both have steak?
If I was a Vegas local...
Vegas is a bad... Or McDonald's is bad, though, because that's different. It's garbage.
Right.
Your point is... Would you rather go to the steakhouse that has the killer steak or a steakhouse that has equally killer steak but shitty experience? Well, obviously,
exactly.
I want the experience. I want the ambiance.
You want the good service. You just
want the treatment.
Yeah, you want to feel good when you walk in. You want to feel great when you leave. You want to feel awesome in between those two times. And I think, that's a lot of what's kind of missing in sales these days. Is you have people that over the economy was really strong. You had a lot of people that just kind of got layups and they actually did really well. You look at the solar industry, for example. I know that you're in the solar industry a bit. It's kind of the gold rush. And you had a bunch of, snot-nosed kids going and making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in a year, just knocking doors. And then all of a sudden, things can tighten up a little bit. Things can change where those same people, they literally cannot make that money because they don't have the skill set. They don't have the the mindset. They don't have the habits, some of the things that you talk about, and they just don't have the ability to create that experience for other people that gets them to actually purchase.
The fundamentals.
Exactly.
So is that what you're teaching? Because you're getting quite popular in the sales training space, at least from the people I'm talking to. They're like, dude, Jordan's freaking the real deal.
We're doing some things. And the reason for that, I don't think, is because it's all fundamentals. I think the fundamentals are very important because that's your foundation. But I think that there's a lot of tactical, a lot of strategic things that people can understand about the interactions and from a psychological perspective, what's actually happening when you're in the sale and you hear an objection, or what you're really trying to do by generating emotional responses from people and getting them to want what you sell. These are skills. You
also invented these things called cash cards.
I did.
Which are like flashcards for rebuttals.
I did. It was pretty crazy. I was staring out my window, like, what was it, 2020? And I was just kind of firing this all up. And I was like, man, I need a good lead magnet. You know, you're familiar with that. You have something of value where at least somebody could take it for free, but you get their, name and email address, phone number. Maybe you follow up with them and you upsell them or find additional areas of opportunity to bring them value. I was staring at my window and I'm like, dude, flashcards for objections. And so I went on to Google and, like, of course, I know this space. I've been in it for a long time. And I found out that nobody had ever really done it. I saw some blank ones where, like, I need to think about it, and here's the blank side, and we'll mail them to you. You fill out your own response. But what fucking use is that? It's like the blind leading the blind. If you already don't know what to say, sitting down and writing down your own response probably isn't going to work. So I used my objection handling formula, as I like to call it, and basically just started creating all these different responses. I went into some software tool I designed to myself. I sent them to a manufacturer, and then I put them on Facebook, and I was like, man, I wish I had these deck of cards in my Hooked on Phonics when my parents were buying that for me so I could be good at school, because I would have learned how to make money. And man, it's been a pretty cool thing, man. We've sold out, I can't even count how many times, dozens and dozens of times. We just sell out, and I got to keep on ordering from the manufacturer, and it's been honestly a lot of fun.
Is there a volume 2 coming?
I think we're technically internally on volume number 4 right now. Right now, what I'm mostly focused in on is helping the lazy people, because you'll get somebody that'll buy a deck of cash cards, and although it would take minimal brain power and effort to take whatever type of response is on that one specific card you wanted and, like, inject the word solar instead of product, some people just literally can't do that. So I have a lot of attention on right now coming out with different, I guess, categories of cash cards: real estate, solar, car sales, insurance, and to help cater to the specific and unique objections that those people have to handle.
Yeah, but these are physical and printed to where tangible. If I have a deck of cards, come out with some more, which will be your next volume for the same industry.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, here's volume 1, volume 2, because then you can even order subscription to where they just automatically get the versions as they come out.
Yes.
All it is giving them more
and more
rebuttals.
Values. Yeah, more and more responses, ways of saying things. And
but do people like that? Like, when I was training, everybody always gave feedback as to their favorite was when I gave them the one-liners.
Oh,
and that's what the cash cards do.
Well, yeah.
But if I bought a pack and I've mastered them all,
right,
I wouldn't buy another pack.
Of course not.
Well, I would buy the next volume, though.
Right. That's the difference. And I've been trying to kind of rack my head a little bit about that. I have a friend back home, a good friend of mine. He sold his e-commerce CBD company for like 40-50 million bucks. And I've always been talking to him because he makes CBD gummies or aloe that you put on your skin, whatever. Sooner or later, you're going to run out of it. And if you like that product, then you're just going to go back to their website or their store, and you're going to buy it again over and over and over again because you like that stuff. Cash cards are a little bit different. I have to basically either bank on the fact that somebody steals them from you or you lose them before you memorize, internalize, and personalize your delivery with them. So, yeah, I think different versions, little upgrades here and there would be something valuable from a
I wouldn't say
profit standpoint.
versions, Jordan. I'd say volumes.
Volumes.
In other words,
you're-
I got to think about it. How many ways can you handle that objection?
Well, see,
On your cash cards, I'm sure I got to think about it's on there.
there's 3 of them in there.
Okay, so see now I got to think about it. There's 3. So now my next version, there's still I got to think about it, but
of
there's
course.
3 more ways you can handle it, and then
I like
the
that.
next version's 3 more ways. Because dude, you can make those up infinitely.
Yeah.
If you're top notch salesperson,
sure can.
because you're just saying basically the same shit in a different way.
Yeah.
And then you'd come out with categories because, again, objections on homes might be different than an objection on a cheaper product. So
Right.
bigger investments cause, to say different things.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is just a volume idea. I would also
No, I like it.
develop an app because I don't want the cards. I want the
It's coming soon.
I want the app where I press the little icon and boom, the flashcards come up on my phone.
Come on, man.
Boom, 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 boom.
I was going to come in like 6 months, and then I was announce that, but it's in the works.
Well, hurry up.
We're doing some things.
Now, how many clients do you currently work with on a regular basis? By the way, folks, if anybody's, interested, this is what he does for a living. He helps companies double, triple, and quadruple their sales productivity, gets people fired up, gets their salespeople competent and confident.
That's right.
And he does it on a regular basis. And again, before I had him on, I've known who he was because he used to work for one of my buddies, one of my clients. And there's a whole story there, but we'll leave that for another time. Unless you want to get into it.
I mean, we can dig into whatever you want to dig into.
Well, it's up to you.
It's your show, bro.
I know, but it's up to you.
I just happened to get on a plane from Milwaukee to sit down in this beautiful studio of yours and give the audience, the bomb squad, as you call them,
That's right.
value. So whatever you think is most valuable for your audience, because nobody knows your audience better than you do. We can dig into that. We can dig into anything, man.
Well, to me, I don't think it serves anybody, even though some people might know who you are and know the story.
Sure.
He used to work for a fella named Grant Cardone,
Yep.
was his top guy for a long time.
Yep.
And then ultimately got inspired by working with Grant.
Yep.
And I spoke at an event once, and he blamed me for giving him the
I still blame
extra
you.
courage to jump out and start his own business. And apparently that was against the agreements that you had with Grant.
Yeah.
And then you found out when Grant started slapping you with all kinds of lawsuits.
Yeah, that happened. In retrospect, and hindsight is 2020. I would have preferred not to go through that, but I'm really happy I did. Probably very similar to any of the
Well, you learn, you grow.
significant challenges you've had in business and
A
whatever.
multi-billionaire taught me once, stay out of lawsuits by all
Amen to
means.
that. Amen to that, man.
Now, again, you got to do what you got to do, but stay out of them if you can. And it's not like you sued him; he sued you. And when someone sues you, dude, you're kind of just stuck in it.
You have to respond. When you get a motion filed against you, you have to file another motion, and then your attorneys are sitting there with their hands open, waiting for some more money so that they can go do that work. And it can drain you pretty quickly.
It's a racket.
Yeah, man.
But
money
eventually,
goes quick.
but it didn't sway you. You still managed to build your
No,
company
fuck
and proceed.
Yeah, I'm not scared about setbacks, challenges, even if they take 3.5 years, like that one did. No. I always like to envision myself as the guy that can get his ass just whooped. When they're all bloody in the face and like cinematic, and they get up in slow motion, they kind of they got like 3 teeth missing, but they're still staring at you, smiling like, I'm ready for some more. Like, I just want to be that guy in life, not just in that scenario, but just in general. Like, life is difficult. So entrepreneurship is tough. You got to be able to confront it.
Well, again, I hate to disagree with my guests.
Well, you can disagree all you'd like.
Well, I don't think life is tough. I think life is what you make it. And if it's tough, it's because you're making it tough.
I think that's a very valuable point.
I was telling someone the other day, I was getting ready to go on stage. A couple of youngsters were saying they were in the green room. They bought some high-level tickets, so they're back there talking to everybody.
Yeah.
And so I said, and by the way, if you guys go to events, I would highly recommend buying the most expensive all-access ticket you can get or you can afford.
Without
because,
a doubt.
dude, relationships and connections are really the key. And anyway, so these guys are back there talking to me, and I said, well, what do you think I should talk about? Because I don't know what I'm talking about when I go out there. I just figure it out when I get out there. And they were giving me some ideas, and then they said, but whatever you do, like, we don't like when the speakers go out there and tell you that it's easy and this and that. And I said, what's easy? Sales isn't easy. And I said, dude, that is a mindset issue right there. Sales is easy. Like, what's harder, knocking on a door and seeing if somebody wants to buy your shit, or digging a ditch, or fighting forest fires?
I'd rather knock a door.
Or freaking hauling shingles up a ladder to go on a roof.
No doubt.
Sales isn't difficult. It's mentally challenging, but if you have the mental game down, it's not hard at all.
It's really, truly not.
And it's the same thing with life, man.
Yeah.
Life is not difficult. It's actually pretty easy. Now, when you focus on the problems, you get more problems. But if you can shift your perspective to one of gratitude, well, then what happens is you realize life's pretty easy, man.
It is.
Unless you make it difficult. And a lot of people do. So when someone says life's hard, it is hard for them.
Yes.
But that's what my point is. Like, guys, I'm not saying life's not hard for you. There's a lot of people going through some hard times.
Yeah.
But those same hard times, if you shift your perspective in the same situation, can completely turn around.
Yeah.
And it's all based on your perspective.
Yeah.
So when people say life's hard, things are hard, this is tough, I get what they're saying, and I agree. Yes, shit can be difficult. But I don't agree, because life specifically is what you make it.
Yeah.
If you're slacking, making excuses, hanging around the wrong people, talking shit to yourself, talking shit to others, causing yourself problems, focusing on problems, lazy, weed smoking, drunken, freaking goofball, guess what? Life can be fucking difficult for you, but who's making it that way?
The person is.
You are. Life is what you make it.
Well, and one thing that I absolutely embraced accidentally is, like, during that time of the lawsuit, like, we're talking 3.5 years, I lost all my friends. I lost all the money that I worked really hard for to my attorneys. And I still was kind of being stubborn, where I just still wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't want to go and get another sales job to just make more money. I wanted to kind of grind it out. So I chose the hard path, like the book that you wrote, The Hard Way. But here's what I learned. And this is good for anybody dealing with any type of stress, anxiety, whatever you call it, is take a look at the reason why you're anxious or feeling some type of way. Like, when I was down in the dumps, like, I was like, okay, wait a second. How did I get here? Well, I got here because my former employer sued me, and they have way more money than I do. And of course, in some way, shape, or form, they feel validated in their pursuit of wanting to sue me. So what does that make me? And so instead of focusing on losing money, losing friends, being broke and going through the hard time, you take a look at the reality of, okay, this is a hard chapter right now, but why is it hard? Oh, well, it's because I'm really fucking good at what I do, and somebody somewhere feels threatened about me trying to plant my flag wherever I'm trying to plant it. And that feels pretty badass. And that turns into a sense of gratitude. So, if you're anxious about whatever, like, I was just having my first kid 1.5 years ago, and I'm like, God damn, bro, like, this is going to be insane. Like, this is going to be a life changer. I'm going to have, like, this baby and stuff. And I started feeling anxious about it. And then I was like, wait a second. How did I get to this point? Well, I found a girl that fell in love with me. She's absolutely beautiful. We had sex. We got to enjoy that. And now there's a baby on the way. I feel pretty decent about this now. So anytime you're looking at whatever bad thing it is, just ask yourself, how did you get there? And 1, it's you that got there. 2, whatever got you there is probably a good thing that you can be grateful for the problem that it produced.
Did you anticipate being sued?
No, honestly, when I was kind of doing my leaving of the company, I sat around and I found some attorneys, and I took my agreement and I shopped it around, and I was like, hey, what do you think? Is this something? And everybody said, like, on its face, like, the actual words, the way that, like, these things were written, like, it cost you a couple bucks, might be a little scuffle, but, like, this is pretty loose. I was like, okay, cool. So I did it because I didn't anticipate a whole lot of whatever you would call animosity, blowback, whatever. So to be fair and honest, no, I didn't really anticipate it. It was something that ended up happening though. And sometimes you got to pivot, you got to react. And, ultimately it was a tough chapter for sure.
Yeah, but you got through it. And now
That's all that matters.
Stupar Enterprises is a real money-making business.
Yeah, we're doing, I mean, I was literally sitting outside, not in your green room, but the little welcome area where you have a Shot Callers magazine, the Bradley dedicated magazine. And I turned to a random page and the question was something about your personal brand and like why it's important. And your answer was like, hey, it took me like 10 years to make $1 million in a year with Lightspeed.
20, but yeah.
Something like that. And I was just like, holy shit. Like, dude, that's a long ass time, dude, to get to 7 figures. My business did that within the first 14 months once I fired it up because I had a little personal brand, but most importantly, like,
yeah, but you also have the ability to sell, close, and persuade.
100%, which was the kind of the segue back into the sales stuff is if there's any one skill that's super valuable as an entrepreneur, as a human being, it would be inspiring, persuading, and motivating other people to do what's in their own best interest to do and facilitating that exchange so that you can get a cut off of it. A little piece for the niece, as you like to say.
Yeah, so obviously, folks, he has a training system, happens to be on Lightspeed virtual training.
Best
but
system.
He has a Lightspeed training system for companies and individuals that want to, learn the most current and relevant sales practices.
That's right.
So let's cover some of those. What are some of those? Like how much do you do on the phones versus old days or?
Yeah, I mean, I can do the phones. I can do the door knock. I can do, a script. I think that those things are important. And I think that obviously there's a need for those things. But I think that what people really need is they need to have the actual strategic approach to like communicating more effectively with other people. When I was a couple months ago, whatever that was, April, May, when I was in Vegas at that hotel, I did my little 1 hour thing. And, when I think about all the
what
things.
What are you talking about? Closer School?
Yeah, Closer School. There was you and, 6, 7 other high level speakers that all obviously know their shit. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, what am I going to talk about? Do I want to just bring like fire and brimstone motivation, yell? Do I want to be laid back and talk about sales objections? Do I want to talk about cold call? Like if you got 60 minutes, what are you going to do? And so I decided to talk about my sales algorithm. And basically the way that I look at sales is a very systematic kind of step-by-step approach to knowing what's going to happen before it happens. You've been in sales and you've been around long enough to know that there's only so many different outcomes that can happen when you ask somebody a question or you show off your product. Like there's only so many things that can happen. And once you have those listed out, you can map out the different directions of what's going to happen. It's like those little flow charts where it's like, are you hungry? If yes, go eat a cheeseburger. If no, and it just takes you down this thing like, how much money do you have? Do you want to buy caviar instead of a different appetite? Whatever. Point is, you're going to get to that plate of food because you're hungry. And in sales, it's the same exact thing. There's a flow chart in my head about every single little direction of what's going to happen. And that's what I really like to teach. I love talking about objections and I love talking about closing and cold calling, but it's the more strategic, James Bond type shit that like gets things done versus just ram it down their throats and ask for the deal type of thing. I don't agree with that perspective very much. I'm more of a, what would you call it?
Finesse.
Smooth operator.
Well,
and that's what I like to teach.
Yeah. So people that come to you, are they just new or are they?
They're like, that's the other side of what I do that fascinates me is I have clients that are making $500,000 a month right now in real estate. I have clients that are making $1 million a year selling decks. I have agent owners of insurance companies that are making millions of dollars. And I also have hundreds of, State Farm, Jake that just shows up and, they're not making a whole lot of money because they just got out of college and they're looking to finally get in a career of sales. I talk to everybody, and it really fascinates me the common denominators that literally every industry shares. And as a sales trainer that does cater to everybody, the most infuriating and frustrating thing for me is when people try to tell me like, oh, our customers are different, or our industry is a little bit different, or you don't know exactly what it's like to sell cars in Jacksonville, Florida. It's like, yeah, are you selling to trees and animals? No, we're not selling to trees and okay, so you're selling to human beings then. It's like, yeah. Well, okay, now let's have a conversation about the singularities and the common denominators that apply to what you do talking to human beings, but in Jacksonville, Florida. And that's where if people do drop their ego just enough to open their minds up to the fact that, what's working for that insurance agent out there in Oakland, California might help me sell a car here in Jacksonville, Florida, then that's when things really open up for people. But first they have to open up a little bit.
Companies that have sales teams.
Yeah.
And they're like shitting their pants right now. Why? Well, because it was so easy during COVID.
Yep.
People that breathed could sell some shit.
Yeah, if you had a pulse, like somebody was buying something.
Yeah, so now that that's over and you actually have to know what you're doing,
Yeah.
where do you think companies are going wrong? If I got a business owner listening to this, like how can he go in there and get some more productivity out of his team?
Best way to get productivity out of your team is to raise the bar, raise the standards and the metrics that people have to hit on a daily basis. That's something that your people should be inspired to do on their own, but people are lacking that motivation and discipline these days. That would be step number one. Step number two is like actually make like actual training a part of your day. And I'm not talking about like,
or give you one of those.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Well, dude, I believe in it.
Well, I know you do. And like, I'm preaching to the choir over here, but how many times too do you see it, especially being CEO, owner of Lightspeed, where like you could look at anybody's usage from any trainer that's on your platform with any company that's using them. It's just like, it's insane to me that I'll sign a contract with a company. They'll pay us thousands of dollars a month and they'll agree to doing all this stuff. And we turn them on the greatest system ever with what I believe is the best content, with all the testing and accountability and reporting and just all the bells and whistles. And it just blows my mind that they just let off the gas so easily when things get decent. Like, it's very similar to me in my fitness right now. I'm just battling with my fitness. Like, I'm not overweight. I'm in pretty good shape. So like, if I do like a couple weeks on the treadmill, like I've been doing recently, like I can lose 12 pounds. I can start seeing an ab or two popping out. And I'm like, fuck it, dude, I'm good. Like it's time to go back to chicken wings, French fries, and a couple of cocktails at night, every night. Because like, I feel good, I look good, I'm good. Where I need to dial in and be like, no, motherfucker, you need to keep on doing the things that are making you feel really good, not just decent. And it's the same thing with these businesses. They get a small, 3% increase month over month. We're good. So they back off the training a little bit and they don't actually do it every single day, which is what I'm really excited about chatting with you, after this or whatever, is putting together something I don't believe anybody in your platform or on your platforms actually ever put together for clients. It's, I think, going to solve a lot of those problems. But training, make it a part of your day. Make sure that it's something that your team does on a daily basis at a scheduled time for a period of time long enough frequently to actually get a result. That's the number one thing that you can do in your business to make more sales.
And continue to do it. Like that's one of those things. You'll start kicking ass. I've seen companies literally double their business and say what you just said, I'm good.
That's it.
But on the other hand, I've seen people start losing and the first thing they want to cancel is the freaking training.
Amen to that, bro.
It's like,
I get those calls.
We can't afford it. We can't afford it. And it's like, dude, if you can't afford it, this is when you really have to do it.
Like big time. And like, I always literally just an email that I got last night from one of the companies that we work with is, things have kind of slowed down over here, Jordan. The sales training is good, and we're not really like losing money. We're actually more profitable, but things are just slowing down. Can we pause, our training with you? And it's like, well, no, you can't. For one, you're in a contract, and as a business owner, it's my fiduciary responsibility to my employees, my landlord, where my office where I pay rent, and my wife and it's my fiduciary responsibility to make sure that that money keeps coming in, and you're in a contract. So that's number one. Number two is this is the time where you need to double down on the training so that your team can ensure that sales don't decline. A lot of businesses out there will buy sales training because, sure, we want to see a 10, 20, 30% increase quarter over quarter, whatever. We want to see an increase. I'm about to promote some advertising. I shouldn't have said that, but I'm about to run some ads to business owners guaranteeing that if you work with us and you pay us, your sales will not go down. And I know a lot more business owners that would probably say yes to a guarantee like that out of fear than they would saying, oh, we'll make an extra $3 million this year with a 20% increase. It's like, yeah, you would. But for some reason, a lot of people, I don't know why they can't buy into the attainment of their own goals. I don't know if you've bumped into that before, but every single person you and I talk to, everyone wants more money. But when you get them on the phone, it's like, hey, for X amount of money, you're going to have access to this, that, the other thing, this structure, this chat group, our onboarding, yada, yada. It's like, I'm good.
Hey, you want to spend an hour a week with me helping you become a business badass? Well, check out my group in the link below.
It's like, that's not what you said 5 minutes ago when I asked you how much you were making right now and how much you want to be making. And we know that bridging that gap isn't the economy. It's not more leads. It's not better leads. It's you. You're the person that converts those leads. So why isn't it an issue now that there's some monetary exchange happening? And that's where you have to be very, very, very good at sales in order to sell sales training. You know that drill. If you've sold your own sales training, it's like you have to walk, talk, act, breathe, live, smell like, behave like the ideal salesperson in every single situation. And if you don't check every single box the entire time, then guess what? Nobody's going to do business with you.
Now, if I'm an individual at a company,
Yep.
I find that most of those guys, they don't invest in themselves
At all.
What would you say to those guys?
Put your big boy pants on, because shit's going to get hard either way. Either you don't invest in yourself and your life is going to be substantially harder year after year. I think it was literally just this year in 2023. I forget somebody can fact check this, but I think it was, if you're not making 30% more money in 2023 than you did in 2022, you are literally actually 10% less of a lifestyle, quality of lifestyle due to inflation and all the other things that are going on. So individually, you salespeople out there must see at least a 30% increase in your personal income this year just to have a 10% less quality of lifestyle that you had last year. So either one, don't invest into yourself. Don't take the time to read books or go onto YouTube or transact with guys like me or guys like Brad or any of these individuals out here that have the information that you need to get better. And you can go down that route and your ass is going to get kicked. Or you can just make a tough one-time decision to hand over whatever, $1,000, $5,000, 250 grand, whatever the thing is that you're looking at investing in, and sinking it into your brain and making things better with your skill set and with the way that you're able to approach the interactions that you have on a daily basis. The thing that I'm all giddy about in sales, and the reason why I love to do this, is because sales changed my life. I just made a post about this a couple days ago or whatever. Like, dude, I'm just a fucking guy from Wisconsin, dude. Like, I can play a couple songs on the guitar back in the day, chasing down some girls around the campfires, but like, it was never going to make me rich. I was a college dropout. It's not like my half-ass communication degree was going to make me rich. Like, I've always had goals of fancy cars, a nice house, vacations, a good lifestyle. And like, dude, there was no other route for me other than sales. And it took me a long time because there is a bit of a learning curve when it comes to sales. Hence, doing what I do today is helping shorten that learning curve for other people. But sales, your ability to do this really well at a high level will change your motherfucking life. And that's why I get passionate about doing what I do.
Yeah, and that's a fact too. I always say, I don't know anyone successful financially that isn't selling something.
Facts.
And the better you are at selling, the
Facts.
more financially successful you'll be, even if you're not selling your own shit. But that's another thing. Like they can go to work for somebody that invests in them, and they can get really good at sales, and that's good. But the companies that don't invest in their people, and there's more of those that do that.
Yeah.
Like I can't believe it. Where I was going with that is, if you're a salesperson working for an organization that isn't properly training you, and you don't go out on your own and do it, then you're missing the point, because it's not their responsibility. Technically, it's yours.
Without a doubt.
So I would not wait for the company I'm working for to provide me sales training, especially when individual sales training on your program is like very inexpensive, especially considering the return. But more importantly, it's a lifelong return.
That's the other side of like the frustrating and irritating part when mostly with those analytical types that are like, well, in the next 60 days, I would need to see that. I'm like, dude, are you only planning to use this word track and this script and the things that you learn in this program for the next 60 days? Well, no. I mean, if it works, like I'll use it for the rest of my life. Okay, dumbass, give me your credit card. Who's going to make more money here? You or me? I probably, voila.
Dude, it sounds a little bit like you've dealt with some objections yourself in this industry.
Dude, I've heard a few.
Yeah, but see, it's affecting you.
Well,
It's affecting your outlook.
I wouldn't say that it's affecting my outlook.
You know what I would say if someone says this better do something in 60 days? I'd go, brother, if it didn't do something in 60 days, I wouldn't blame me at all if you cancel. So let's get it going.
Dude, I'll give you your money back.
So the 60 days starts today.
100%.
Like, let's roll.
Let's go.
That doesn't bother me at all. If after 60 days this training is not proving to be incredibly valuable to you, I'll tell you what, we will walk away friends. I'll get you a cigar, buy you a drink, and walk away. I might even go just to close the deal, I'll even give your money back. But everyone has to go through the program successfully, because, dude, I cannot manage your people for you. And a lot of companies out there are like, well, I can't get my people to train. Folks, that is not a training problem. That is leadership. A management problem. That is a management problem. Before, in the old days, we couldn't see if they were training. We didn't know if they understood. We were giving them training, but we didn't really have any accountability. Now, especially with the system you're on, a company can press a button and see who's logging in, who's not, who's learning, who's weak, who's strong. You can see everything. And then there has to be some sort of accountability put in place to where, listen, if you work here, you're going to improve. It's not an option. And I would start hiring people that way.
Yeah.
Like, Jordan, if you want to work here at Lightspeed VT, one of the requirements we have is self-development. Yeah. How do you feel about self-development? Well, I feel good about it, man, because they're trying to get a job. They'll tell you anything.
Yeah, I just read a book.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. We have an actual training system here that we expect you to use on a regular basis. Even if you're kicking ass, even if you're one of the top guys, we expect you to continuously develop your skill set and your mindset, etc.
Yeah.
Do you have any problem with that? No, I don't. Okay, now I'm going to hold you accountable to that. You're going to train on a regular basis. I'm going to set the training expectation. The system's going to track and babysit all the little son of a bitches running around trying to dodge it, because there will be. Mm-hmm. And then my management team can implement that hands-on accountability at the local level. Because obviously my system can show you whether someone trained or not, but if you don't do anything about it, my system's not going to go out and deduct their pay or give them a termination. Actually, we could program it to do that.
And like, I think you bring up a pretty good point, especially for the business owners out there listening. I do that a lot,
don't I?
Well, I mean, you are the Brad Lee.
Indeed.
Yeah.
People can't argue with me. I love when freaking business owners try to talk about training in a negative way. First of all, training is 100% the highest ROI you can get on any dollar you've ever invested. That's training.
That's a fact, folks.
And here's another thing that's funny. Companies have no problem spending money on marketing and advertising. I've seen budgets of $100,000, and when I say give me $1,000 a month to train your team, they're like $1,000 a month. What are you, crazy? And I said, listen, this one time I did this, and you can use this story to close more deals. Whenever you have a company that's like, oh, that's a lot. Listen, I took a guy that had $50,000 a month go into the freaking newspaper to run ads every fucking weekend.
Still a lot of those people out there.
Yeah, but 50 grand a month was no problem. He did it month in, month out.
Yeah. Clockwork.
It was just a budget. 50 grand, sure. It drove customers, fool. Got to have customers. Right. So I said, listen, do me a favor. I'll make you a deal. You give me $1,000 out of that 50 and only spend $49,000 advertising. And I'll bet you'll make more money on $49,000 than you will $50,000. As soon as I said it, he goes, hey, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
that's
said,
a pretty good point,
I said,
Brad.
good. So he signed up. He made 2 to 3 times more money because the people that were talking to the customers he was paying for 50 grand are now trained. They stayed longer. They made customers happier.
Better
He got more
attitudes.
referrals. He had everything rise up. His customer satisfaction, his employee satisfaction, his turnover dropped. He made way more money and he couldn't believe it. And now he's one of the biggest like testimonials I have as far as the return on training. Yeah. So again, I mean, if you guys got businesses out there and you're listening to this and you're not training your team regularly, training isn't something you did, it's something you do. If you're not training them regularly, it's probably because you don't have a system, a training system. That's the key. It's a system. It's not videos. People always say, oh, you got some videos? Dude, it's not a video. There are videos in the system, but it's a training system to deliver, track, and measure content with repetition, practice, and accountability. And when you apply that to any area of your organization that's struggling, it goes up. Now, the key is good content. That's what you provide. Mm-hmm. Repetition. That's the system making sure that they go through it enough times and understand it through the testing and role playing and exercises. And then accountability. That's the management, man. Mm-hmm. So when someone says, I can't get my people to train, I'm always like, well, dude, that's your management.
Yep.
And I would, if I were you, I would create some sort of management curriculum.
Underway.
Because when they say, dude, I can't get them to train, bro, that's leadership.
Underway.
You got
I literally just fired off an email last night to somebody that was, again, just we've been with them for 8-9 months now. And the team is pretty busy right now. And, it's our high season with what we do. And we're just being a little bit more inconsistent. I said, okay. There's only one person I got to look at the reports for usage. I go into the usage reports inside of Lightspeed. I click on the owner's name. In this case, he has a smaller company, so he's the owner operator, and he is brand new. He has a brand new manager who probably isn't on the up and up of having the authority in the organization yet to do what he needs to do from a training standpoint. But all I had to do is look at the owner. I said, oh my God, Nick. Dude, I know exactly why your team is struggling to be consistent logging in and getting through the system. You haven't logged in for 3 months. I pay for it and I don't even sell. I'm the owner. Who cares?
Well, that's a good reason, but that's not the only reason.
That's a great reason.
No, it's not the only reason. Because again, I'm the owner and I don't have to fucking log in and train.
Me neither.
But it's good if you're a leader to obviously lead by example. But I would say that is a management issue, Nick.
Yeah.
And getting rid of a training system isn't going to solve that.
Exactly.
But you know what will solve it? Accountability.
Yes.
Nick, you have to sit down your organization and you have to inspect what you expect.
Yes.
You can't do it without this system realistically.
Yes.
So getting rid of the training system isn't going to do it. And then tell them this story. A friend of mine owned a clothing store in Beverly Hills. I said, how's it going? He said, it's unbelievable, dude. We're crushing all the records. We're making so much money. It's unbelievable. I said, man, that's fantastic. See him 6 months later. I said, dude, you still killing it? He says, actually, we are killing it. The problem is man, theft is an issue. I said, what are you going to do? He says, well, we have installed cameras. And I said, right on. Saw him a little bit later. I said, how'd the cameras work out? He said, dude, we found out who was doing all the stealing. I said, who was it? He said, my top salespeople. I said, really, dude, what are you going to do? And he said, well, we're going to get rid of the cameras. See, some business owners, they don't want the answers because they're afraid of losing their top people. Well, dude, listen, first of all, top people log in and train. That's what the data shows us with Lightspeed. The top most highly paid, highly successful businesses and individuals are the ones that train the most. That's indisputable.
Yep.
Number one. Number two, getting rid of the training system is not going to solve their problem. It might save them $1,000, but they're going to spend a ton of money. And because you paid me to get your team up and running and actually make you money, dude, I would be letting you down to let you cancel.
That's it.
Let me talk to your sales staff.
Yep.
Let me talk to your managers, and I will show them how to leverage this tool to where, dude, there will be nothing lower ever, and then throw in your guarantee. Dude, I could save that deal in 5 seconds.
I mean, easy peasy. It's been saved. I don't think that it was ever really like trying to walk away. He was just having one of those little.
But dude, when people start getting like, the numbers are going down, the first thing they want to cancel are expenses. And when they see training expenses, they go, oh, we can lay off that a little bit.
They forget it's an investment.
Dude, that's when you double down on that shit. If it's slow, train.
Yep.
If people aren't busy selling, train.
Like that would be the optimal time to prepare for the busy
Someone
season.
just asked me in a DM, what would you do in a down economy like this? Dude, train.
Work on yourself.
Yeah, train. You got to get everybody back to the fundamentals. You got to get everybody prospecting. You got to come up with some new techniques, new rebuttals, new ways of generating business. You got to keep them motivated, because why do people quit your business? Well, they're not making any money. Well, why aren't they making any money? Well, because you didn't train them.
Yeah.
And then when people don't stop and say, well, how do I train somebody? Well, listen, you train someone very simply. Good content, repetition, practice, and accountability. If you don't have those 4 things, it's not training. So again, Jordan can come in and tell you what to say to your trainers, and then your trainers say it one time and then say it didn't work. Well, that's because they said it one time. There was no repetition, there was no practice, there was no accountability.
Yep.
Or instead of Jordan teaching your people what to tell them, how about Jordan tells them repeatedly, practice, role plays, and holds them accountable with a system for doing it, a web-based interactive system. Anyway, I don't want to turn it into a commercial, but dude, you get passionate about it. I get passionate about it. Why? Because dude, everybody should have a training system. If you're in business, and I don't care how big or small you are, if you're in business and you plan on growing and scaling your organization, do you believe that having a training system and an onboarding system prior to growth or after growth would be smarter?
You definitely don't want it after growth.
Dude, it's trust me, you want it prior to growth. And the training is so inexpensive. A lot of people say, dude, it's expensive. I don't know what you charge a month for a business, but I was charging $1,200 a month, and they'd be like, dude, that's expensive. And I said, dude, if you think that's expensive, try not training your people.
Yeah.
Try letting your people blow out customers, not work referrals correctly, not manage, not know your expectations, not be held accountable. Turnover. That's another thing. Like my guys, we're going to lay off. We've been through it. Well, first of all, if you don't have anybody new, it tells me you're not growing. Mm-hmm. So what you're telling me, Nick, is you don't have anybody new. And if you don't have anybody new, it's probably because you're not growing. And guess what he's going to say? Well, that's why I'm canceling, Jordan, because we're not growing. Exactly. And your system's supposed to magically make us grow. Dude, the system's not going to do it.
Well, and here's
it's a collective. A system is a tool to do it.
And here's a valuable point to support everything that you're saying, and I'm saying, especially from a team perspective, the number one common denominator that I have seen with our best performing business clients that have teams isn't even necessarily the full-on user adoption at 100%. It actually has to do with the fact that you have some type of manager. It might be a VP in your company. It might be a sales manager, depending on the size of your company and how many people you have in your training. The number one thing that our best clients see is that they have a definitive point of contact with the authority to facilitate daily training and hold the team accountable to doing it. When that person is missing, that's where we get the most people, whatever it is, a month in, 2 months in, they're like, oh, well, I just can't seem to get my team to do it because, they're the owner or whatever. When things go right and that person is in position, we had a window company. They had previously used my former employer's training. And I went to him and I charged him twice as much money, which was a considerable amount of money. And I was able to help them double their entire company's revenue in 13 different states within 90 days. They went from a $50 million a year company to a $108 million company, literally because the manager, I poured into that manager, that one person that kind of oversaw the entire sales, whatever it was, 49 salespeople in 13 different states. We poured into them. And then we also leveraged your system to help create specific content for their company. And we, did the whole white label and everything. But the point that I'm trying to make is, for those of you that have companies, if you're a really small company, the number one thing that you need to do is you need to be the leader. If you have a medium-sized company, and I'm not talking statistically where you have 500 to, 1,000 employees. I'm talking about if you have like 15 people and you don't have a manager, is you might want to consider hiring a manager. And of course, if you already have a manager in place and you're not doing any training, then call Brad, call me, call somebody and actually do some training, because it will help move the needle because you have the right people in the right place. That'd
but I want to say. Good point. I also just wanted to point out, though, because I can hear what people say as I talk, all the pessimists.
Yeah.
It's Lightspeed's not a freaking magic pill. And when I say Lightspeed, I mean a training system.
You did a lot, but you can't do everything.
Dude, it's like a treadmill, dude. I bought a treadmill. It was in my bedroom for years, and the son of a bitch didn't do anything.
It didn't?
Didn't do anything. And I was almost going to return it, but they said I couldn't. And I'm like, well, shit, I wasted my money. Someone said, hey, what do you think of that treadmill? The thing's worthless.
Yeah.
And then I realized I'm supposed to ride it.
Yeah, you got to get on it.
Yeah. So as soon as I started getting on it, guess what? Boom, I started getting in shape. It did everything it was supposed to. So a training system is a tool.
Yep.
A sales trainer like Jordan is simply an expert at new and creative ways to get the job done. You're going to need that. You're going to need a system, and you're going to need freaking accountability. Because at the end of the day, dude, you can run around and try to do it manually. It's difficult. How do I know? Because I did it for years and years. I invented the online training space, dude. Before I made Lightspeed, there wasn't any.
I know.
And so I did it manually. And it's very difficult. And I still did it, but it took 80 hours a week, and it took multiple people, and it took unbelievable freaking systems and processes that were 10 times what it costs now.
Yeah.
Nowadays, dude, for pennies on the dollar, you can get a training system put in your organization that babysets all the people. It identifies the weak links.
Yep.
I mean, dude, when you're closing these deals, I'll give you some language to where, like, what if I could show you all the, let's call them unengaged people on your team? What would that be worth? Big teams are like, that'd be worth a lot. Why? Because it's the unengaged secret freaking haters in the background that aren't doing anything that brings the whole team down. If you have a bunch of A players and you mix them with a bunch of C players, pretty soon your A players become C players, or your A players go away.
Did you see that statistic? I'm probably going to botch it off by a little bit, but I saw some report. It was a reel or whatever on Instagram, and it was a study done by some prestigious study, basically saying if you have a player and you have them working in an office space within 15 feet of a C player, that A player, without getting any worse at what they do or not being able to remember whatever, they will automatically perform 20% worse just by being around that C player. However, you take a C player and have them work within 15 feet of an A player without getting any better, showing up on time or having a better attitude or anything, they will actually perform 30% better just by being around that A player, which makes me want to have the conversation of what's worse, having an A player sitting by the C player and automatically dragging the A player down, or putting your C players around an A player so that they automatically perform better.
Well, why can't option C be implemented?
Talk to me.
Make them all A players.
Do you believe that all people can become A players? Or do you think it's something that's a little bit more innate?
Well, if you can't, guess what? You won't be around. So it's a moot point.
That's a reasonable point.
Dude, I just need to give you the tools.
Yeah.
And the opportunity. The A players rise to the top.
I agree.
The C players go away. But most companies, they won't get rid of them because they're worried that they can't find other people, when in reality, it's old school thinking. If I have a system that allows me to produce A players, a system that produces A players, 100%.
Yeah.
You give this password to somebody within 90 days, they will become A players. If they don't become A players, get rid of them.
Show them the door.
And guess what? Yeah, your turnover goes up for a little bit, but pretty soon you got a bunch of badasses.
Yeah.
And I used to tell people, people are like, well, a lot of these, I say, let me ask you a question. Does everybody on your team kick ass? They're like, no. Then you need a training system.
Yep.
Because this system isn't for the ass kickers.
No.
Okay. Even though the ass kickers draw towards it. In other words, you don't have to force your ass kickers to do it. You have to force your average people to do it. And that's what annoys people. And that's why you get those phone calls. I can't get my people to do it.
That's a fact.
Because you're surrounded by average people.
Yep.
And dude, now you need a training system more than ever. Why? Because you're going to need new people.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to get rid of people, folks.
I have this conversation all the time with some of the folks that are maybe making 5 digits, and I help them get to 6 figures, or particularly with people that are already making multiple 6 figures and they want to make 7. It's so funny. You'll find the people making 40, 50, 60, 70, $80,000 a year be the most like, nah, man, like I'm good. Like I'm straight. Everything is bueno and everything is great. Then you talk to somebody that makes it from there somehow. They overcome their own, scarcity mindset and their growth issues, and they make 250. All of a sudden, when they make that 250, it's the most money that they've ever made, but now they're hyper aware on the fact of how little money that it actually is. And the same thing is apparent with the people that I work with that, yeah, man, I'm making $500,000 a month. It's like, okay, where do you want to be? I need to be at $5 million a month. Because those people, despite the fact that they're making way more money than the average person, their friends and family, they have awareness on, dude, at $500,000 a month, I'm still not even anywhere close to where I would ideally like to be making money. And so I always am entertained by the way that people who make the most money are always the most hungry for more money, because they have a level of awareness that most people don't have about money. I think it's very, very interesting.
Folks, 2024 is basically here. If you don't have a training system, not a fucking bunch of DVDs, not some videos, not access to some videos.
VHS.
If you don't have a training system, get a hold of Jordan Stupar. Give him a shot. He's got a guarantee coming out.
I got a guarantee. I'll guarantee whatever y'all need to be guaranteed, as long as y'all guarantee you do the work. I'll do my part, y'all do yours, and man, we are going to make a lot of money.
We'll have a happy relationship. Where do they find you?
You can find me #1 at Instagram at Jordan Stupar, Stupar. It's where you can find me.
What's your website?
You can go to jordanstupar.com as well. I'm getting that revamped right now, so it wasn't the first thing off the top of my head. I got to do some things, but
nobody cares. There's going to be people
Nobody
here going,
gives a
dude, I'll give this whippersnapper a shot.
me up.
Especially if you guarantee
hit
some
me up.
things.
I'll guarantee whatever I need to guarantee, as long as you guarantee whatever you need to guarantee.
Dude, if you're an individual wanting to sell more, make 2024 your best year ever, get a hold of Jordan Stupar.
Please do.
And if you're a business and you want him to come in and kind of be your on-staff sales trainer.
Outsourced VP of sales.
Even insourced, because again, you'll be in the store
you could call it that
24/7.
too. You could, yeah.
How'd you like to have a sales trainer on staff? If you're too small of a company, you think, well, that costs too much. Give them a call, see how little it does cost.
It'll cost a lot more if you try to hire me for that position.
Dude, I appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me, man.
And folks, as always, till next time, keep it real. Is it going to happen? More than likely. You're going to slip. So what? Don't beat yourself up over it. Freaking correct it and move on, man. Correct it and move on. When you take off on an airplane, bro, they're making constant corrections along the way and they get to their destination. Okay, don't worry about the fact that you slid a little bit. Don't beat yourself up and all of a sudden become negative.